Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly subscribe to our channel if you're watching for the first time. Click the notification bell and like our videos. You can also share this video. To all our esteemed supporters and subscribers, I want to say thank you for your continued support ever since we started this channel. We are where we are because of you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to talk about a very emotive topic, and this is church politics. Recently, the head of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope, made statements that were tantamount to legalizing, officiating a marriage between same-sex, kind of LGBTQ. Quoting part of the statement, this is what Pope said in regards to officiating marriages between same-sex people. He said, it should not in any way be confused with the sacrament of heterosexual marriage. Priests should decide on a case-by-case basis and should not prevent or prohibit the church's closeness to people in every situation in which they might seek God's help through a simple blessing. According to Pope, he thought, or he noted, that some people who are of the family of LGBTQ could come to church seeking for your blessing in that marriage, and you should not turn them away because they also need God, so you should just unite them. This has cracked a lot of controversy both within the Catholic Church and outside the church, because the last time we checked, we are serving the same God, the Creator. And matters, church affairs, are very emotive. And I want to begin from the onset by saying this is not about Pope, neither is it about the Catholic Church. That is not what I want to talk about, because as a member of a church, sometimes you don't even sit on the decision-making table. For example, you are in Kenya and you belong to the Catholic Church. When decisions are made in Vatican, Rome, you don't have any say. Decisions shall be made and it will be communicated to you. And that is why I'm saying it is not about you, it is not about your church, it is not about the head of your church. It is you. Tomorrow, I might find it in my church with the same communication. So I want us to delve into the church politics. So if you are a member of the Catholic Church, don't take it personal, because it's not about the church nor the head. Now, what has really cracked up some of the news today is that one of the, in fact, the Archbishop Phyllip Anyolo decided to defy the orders. It's reported that Nairobi Archbishop Phyllip Anyolo defies Pope, bans blessings of same-sex couples. So that is what Anyolo did. I want us to read something very fast, because I want us to delve and tell you what I think about this in regards to politics. Archbishop Phyllip Anyolo of the Archdiocese of Nairobi has defied Pope Francis by warning the clergy in his jurisdiction not to bless same-sex couples and those in irregular unions, in defiance of the Vatican's recent statement that has sparked controversy around the world. So I want us to try and read part of the letter, because this was a letter that was is sent to the clergy that serve under his jurisdiction. And very fast it says, in a letter to parishioners and clergy dated December 23rd, Archbishop Anyolo said any move to bless such unions would be contrary to the word of God, the teaching of the church, African cultural traditions, the laws of our nation, and would be scandalous to the faithful. I want you to get the three aspects that Anyolo is looking at: God's law, the fundamental policies of the church, the African traditions and culture, and the law of our nation. And I want you to understand that. It goes on to say that to make sure the fundamental doctrinal positions affirmed in the declaration and the perennial teachings of the church on marriage is upheld, all clergy residing and ministering in the Archdiocese of Nairobi are prohibited from blessing irregular relationships, unions, or same-sex couples, Anyolo said. And I just want to complete by this. And he said, the teaching of the church in this matter is not only rooted in scripture and tradition, but also on the natural law written into the heart of every human being. You get that? The natural law written in the heart of every human being. For example, you all understand that one of the purposes of marriage, one of them is procreation. And you know, people cannot procreate if same-sex marriage is encouraged. And like I said, I don't want to delve into what is happening in the Catholic or what is happening with the Pope as an individual. I want to tell you what I read in this. If it was a platform for preaching, I would have told you that maybe Satan and the devil is now getting into the churches. But because I don't want to start preaching, politically speaking, I will tell you what I read. Number one, for an archbishop in an African nation who was given his authority by Pope himself to come out very openly and defy the Pope, it tells me that there is a rift and a controversy between the African culture and the Western culture. That has ever been like that. For those who follow this channel, I have always been opposed to the Western machination in our affairs, because I have talked about LGBTQ and recently we were almost legalizing prostitution and the GMO. All these things, you know, emanate from the Western countries. And so I see a rift and an adamant African society, including the church, the African church, that is not willing to take everything that comes from the West. And let me tell you this. Christianity was introduced to us by the Europeans. And they're the ones who told us this is bad, this is wrong. But they are now, you know, they want to get into liberalization kind of worship that Africans are not willing to take. So I see a controversy. I see a rift between our culture and that of the West. Let me tell you, some times back, when Uhuru Kenyatta was in power, and this is the reason why I like Uhuru, whether you hate him, he told off the then president of the USA, Barack Obama, in this country, that there are things that we can emulate from the West, but not everything. There are things that are so deep in our hearts that we cannot just let go because of Wazongo. And this is why I still criticize how William Ruto is dealing with the issue of LGBTQ by pretending to be so much in love with the church, yet he is bringing it through the judiciary. When the Supreme Court, the apex court in the land, sat down the 7-member judges that gave us our president, also, you know, declared that the member of the LGBTQ family have got a freedom of right and, I don't know, freedom of association. And I'm telling you that it is going to take us time to accept. Number two, the West is trying to introduce their culture through the church because they have realized that people have remained adamant. Like in Kenya, it is not very easy. Once the church comes up with such regulations, There are people who are so much attached to the church that they will accept everything that the church says. Let me give you an example. We still don't understand how Mackenzie, as it is being alleged, convinced people that if you fast until you die, then you will see Christ. Let me tell you, it is stupidity. You cannot indoctrinate people to the level that they believe that when you fast until you die, then you see Christ. Why then couldn't he himself fast to see Jesus? But what I'm saying in a sense is that there are people who are so much in love with the church that they will take everything that the church brings. This is why people like Kanyari would form a call center and they tell people, you don't have money, you are poor, and you go there and it tells you that even the little that you have, God will give you. And I know I'm getting into the nerves of some people, and I know giving is part of the church, but that is not my point. My point is people have been brainwashed, and so they will accept. So the West has decided that they are going to introduce their culture to us through the church. And some people will take it because they have tried all manner of things through the human rights activists and all this. You've seen, you know, anytime an African president has been elected, CNN would invite them, and the first question you'd be asked is whether you are going to accept same-sex marriage, same-sex union and relationships. And sometimes they tie it to the aid, like they have done, not sometimes, they've done that always. When Uganda passed the anti-gay law, the IMF and the World Bank and the US came with guns blazing, and they stopped some development and AIDS in that country. And Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, despite the fact that people think he's a despot, decided to protect our culture, and he said, no, whether you're going to take away your aid, we're not going to accept it. So the church is being used to introduce the Western culture by force or slowly to persuade us. I also see a controversy between the church and the government in certain quarters. For example, if the laws of the land, like Anyolo was saying, that this whole thing, he mentioned the African culture and the tradition, the doctrines of the church, the laws of the land, you know, and what is written in the Bible. In Uganda, for example, they have passed an anti-gay law, anti-LGBTQ, lesbians and all that. If a Catholic bishop or any other church for that matter that has been given instructions to officiate same-sex marriage, if they will go ahead, then they are also contravening the laws of the land. You will be obeying the policies and doctrines of the church and the orders from the Pope or from the head of your church, but you will be going against the laws and policies of the land, and with that you will definitely face the full force of the law. And that's why I'm saying that I foresee a rift between the church and the government if this is not going to be ironed. Because when a government has a position against the same-sex union, but the church allows it, which one overrides the other? Is it the doctrines of the church or the policies of the land that encompasses all the religions? So there's going to be a controversy, definitely, and one that will be untold. Number 3, I see people boycotting the church. And I'll tell you, where I worship, if today I would go to church and I'm told that from today our church has decided that we're going to officiate and accept and give the green light to same-sex marriage, I would not go to that church again. I would rather pray at home. Because the original doctrines that the Western countries gave us, they're the people who gave us Christianity. We had our African traditional culture the way we used to follow. But when they came and told us that there is a God who has a son called Jesus and the son died for us, and we took it, they cannot now come and tell us that we want to liberalize worship. That is not what they gave us. So people will boycott the church. Personally, I will not go to a church where I'm being forced. For example, people will be told that this is the first reading between the marriage between John and James. I'm just using it as an example. Anybody with a contrary opinion to come and see the elders, the church pastors and all that, and you will be invited on that day. I cannot tolerate, I don't have the guts to witness two men kissing, that they are being united in what they call a holy matrimony. I would definitely boycott that church. And so I can see people boycotting the church, people will start worshiping at home, or people will move from one church to the other. Or better still, people will change religion. There are Christians who will decide, if this is not happening in the Muslim family, then I would rather worship with them. I worship Allah. That is it. I see that. I also see, maybe the last one, the reintroduction of the other things. Today it is officiating same-sex marriage. Tomorrow it will be prostitution being legalized, because the church will say that we cannot kick away prostitutes, yet Jesus needs them. And you will be given examples of the woman who went to get some water in Jacob's well, and she met Jesus there, the Samaritan woman. And they will tell you Jesus preached to her, and so we should allow them. But of course we have them in the church. But I'm just saying that soon, even the laws of the land will be changed so that we go slow on them. The next thing that will come is abortion. You will not be shocked to hear that now the church, maybe my church or yours, that has got a stand on abortion, and they will tell you that we now want to legalize it. And then you know the consequences, because once it is legalized, then it goes against the policy of procreation, that the first command that God gave to Adam and Eve. And he told them, you go and procreate. So in a nutshell, I see other things from the West being reintroduced through the church. And that's what I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that the analysis is not about a particular church. It is not about the Catholic Church. It is not about Pope. It is about what I think will happen very soon, because the West is the West, regardless of your church. Today, you might brag that your church does not allow this, but sooner than soonest, you will see this, and it will be announced in a pulpit, and you don't have anything to say about it, because you don't sit on the highest decision-making table. So it will be upon you to move, or you take it or leave it. That is my take, ladies and gentlemen.